Welcome to the epMotion tutorial, automated PCR setup with the epMotion 5070. The epMotion 5070 has 4 deck positions and is the most compact epMotion for PCR setup. The work table of the epMotion 5070 can be easily configured with epBlue software. You just need to select the labware types you would like to use for your PCR setup and place them on the desired deck positions simply by drag and drop. In this tutorial, a single-channel pipetting tool with a volume range of 1 to 50 microliters is used. It is placed on the deck. The tips that correspond with the pipetting tool being used: a 96-well PCR plate, reservoir rack for your PCR master mix, and finally your samples and controls are also positioned on the deck. Programming a method to set up a PCR reaction is easy. It typically starts with the distribution of the master mix from a reservoir vessel into a PCR plate. You then define the total number of PCR reactions you would like to set up using the number of samples command. You can add an optional comment command to indicate the purpose of the following liquid transfer command. A reagent transfer command is used to transfer PCR reagents from the source to several destination vessels. You define the volume, transfer type, tip type, as well as source and destination labware. Finally, you need to define the pipetting pattern, but don't worry, this can be done with just 2 clicks. Simply define the vessel that contains your PCR master mix and press complete. The pattern of the destination labware is automatically added by the software. To speed up the distribution of the master mix, you have the option to use a single-channel 300 microliter tool with multi-dispense mode. You can easily adapt your previously defined protocol just by changing the pipetting tool and transfer type in the liquid transfer command. In the next step, samples are added to the PCR master mix. Similar to the distribution of master mix, the number of samples command is used to define the number of samples you have for your PCR reaction. A sample transfer command is conducted to transfer samples coming from various source wells into destination wells. After setting the volume, transfer type, tip type and source and destination labware, the pipetting pattern can be defined. You can decide how many technical replicates you would like to create in your PCR plate by selecting multiple wells on the destination labware. For the following samples, the software automatically fills in the wells on the destination labware. If the samples can be accessed by an 8-channel tool, you can speed up the sample pipetting. The previously set procedure can be quickly adapted by changing the selected pipette tool and adapting the pipetting pattern. Finally, standards and controls can be added to the PCR plate. In this example, 6 standards plus 1 negative control are used. A sample transfer command is again conducted to perform the liquid transfer from the source vessels to the desired vessels of the PCR plate. Now the PCR setup is programmed and the epMotion can be started to set up your PCR reaction with maximum reliability and reproducibility. For more information, visit eppendorf.com/epMotion.